Good morning, fam. It's 7 a.m. This is not my typical video. I'm very uncomfortable, and I feel like if I say these things out loud that it makes it better. Alright, y'all. So, this is my second cup of coffee. And the reason I'm going to talk to you about that is not to be one of those annoying YouTube people who goes over their whole freaking coffee routine that no one cares about. Okay guys, so somebody asked me to do a what I eat in a day video. Now I was a little hesitant to do this because sometimes these types of videos can be really triggering for people who have like body image issues or orthorexia, where they're like hyperly obsessively focused on nutrition and fitness and all that stuff. I used to be one of those people, and I am not anymore. It's a pretty difficult journey actually to get out of that. So I want to caveat this video right from the get-go with the fact that none of this is nutrition advice. This is how I eat that makes me feel good, that inspires me. And so we are gonna do a what I eat in a day, gluten-free and garden edition, because the garden's coming in like full steam right now, which is amazing. So I'm gonna be trying to incorporate as many garden ingredients as I can. All the food that you're gonna see today, I would say is pretty average food that we eat on a given day. I do work from home, so I do make breakfast, lunch, and dinner at home. We probably only eat takeout or eat out maybe once a week because it's hard with my celiac and it's expensive. So with all of those caveats out there in the ether, I start my day with coffee. Well, I try to start my day with water, a very large glass of water, mostly because I have noticed about myself that if I start with coffee, I won't drink water for the rest of the day. It's really bizarre. But if I start with water, I will go back to drinking water. So I do not drink fancy coffee. I drink drip brewed coffee with a little bit of honey and some almond milk because I'm a sensitive little dairy child and I'd rather eat cheese than put real milk in my coffee. So I will tell you guys, usually breakfast is the biggest meal in my household. And that is actually not because of me. That is because of my partner, Cam. He is a big breakfast guy. So my boyfriend is a very big breakfast guy, and he is the one who actually got me started eating breakfast regularly. If it was up to me, I would drink coffee until noon and then have lunch. And if that works for you, then great. Here's the thing. Doesn't exactly work for me. I get very hangry around like 11 or 11:30, and then I'm a mean, grumpy lady that nobody wants to be around. So breakfast for me is one of those things where it's like, I don't necessarily like eating breakfast, but I need to eat breakfast to be the best version of myself for the world. So for breakfast, I'm actually gonna make this thing that I don't know what to call, but it's called pesto toast. And it's literally some toast, some pesto, a fried egg, some kind of feta cheese, and whatever tomato is ripe out of the garden. So what's gonna come out of the garden for this is the pesto and the tomato. And here's how I store my bread. We also don't have a toaster, so I make my toast in the oven. And I store it open because I am a savage, and apparently I don't care if it's stale, because if you've ever had gluten-free bread, you know that like literally it's not worth eating unless it's toasted, because it like literally will fall apart on you. So I always toast my gluten-free bread. I get it at Costco. I've tried to make my gluten-free bread before. Why does this feel like the opposite of like any decent what I eat in a day? Especially for like gardeners and like the homesteady vibes. I don't make my own bread. Here's the deal. Making gluten-free bread from scratch is an actual freaking nightmare, and it's never good. I've tried so many recipes, it doesn't reheat well, it doesn't toast well, so unless you eat the whole loaf right when you're sitting there, like I'll do it a few times a year, and that's as good as it's gonna get. And I'm convinced I do that because I just forget how painful it is. Okay, y'all, so here's my pesto, and I'm gonna tell y'all a trick. I know it's so dark, the lighting is garbage. So here's my pesto, and I'm gonna give you a pro tip on storing pesto. Do you see that line at the top? That is solidified olive oil. Now, our fridge, the top of our fridge is like very, very, very cold for some reason. But you can store your pesto for a long time, like 2 weeks, if you keep a layer of olive oil at the top. And the reason for doing that is the basil will oxidize, and that's when basil gets weird and it gets brown. That's when the basil gets kind of weird, it gets brown, it gets gross, you have that weird layer. So what I used to do was I used to just scrape the top layer off of the pesto, but then you're wasting pesto, and pesto is like such a hot commodity. So what we do is we keep this layer of olive oil at the top, which helps keep the pesto nice and fresh. And then when we go to get the pesto out, we can just move the layer of olive oil aside, or you can kind of drain it off the spoon and use it, and then we just replace the layer of olive oil. It's not that much olive oil, it's maybe like a teaspoon, but makes a big difference. And then the tomato we're gonna be using today is actually my first Paul Robeson tomatoes. So these are hands down my favorite type of tomato. Also, I had somebody submit a question to my Ask Me Anything after I'd already filmed the video about what is, in my opinion, the best tasting tomato that I grow. Paul Robeson, hands down. This is the one where I get legitimately super angry when the squirrels get this one. And then we happen to have some feta cheese for today, so that's what we're gonna be using. I've also used goat cheese, which is really good. And then eggs. Let's talk eggs really quick. So I prefer to pay a little bit more for pasture-raised eggs. And I prefer not to buy conventional eggs. I will buy them if I'm baking, like on a large scale. Maybe in the future we'll have chickens. I don't really like birds, and I worked in zoos for a very long time, so like I'm not super psyched about the idea of having chickens, but I am super psyched about the idea of having lots of eggs, because we eat a lot of eggs. We probably eat eggs like every day. And honestly, my favorite is when we get to go see my family. We have a family friend who has a lot of chickens, and so they'll always get me like an 18-pack of eggs, and then I also try and get them locally from like local farms if I can, but some days I'm in a pinch and I can't do that. Also, y'all, you're gonna see a video soon, but I have to can some of these tomatoes. Like, they're so ripe, which is wonderful, but like, I have to do something with them because one of them exploded and it was real gross. So this is a ceramic coated pan. I do mostly have non-stick, and I'm not super on the non-stick train. I think honestly I would really love to replace all of my non-stick with cast iron, but also I don't want to like throw away every pan I have to replace it with cast iron, but that is a goal of mine probably in the next few years, is to replace everything with like a ceramic bottom or cast iron. Me and my boyfriend were actually just watching a video yesterday on like Teflon and the science behind it and all this crazy stuff. So no matter how you feel about it, I do think cast iron cooks more evenly over time, which is important when you're cooking. Like, if you cook a lot, you know where like the hot spots on your pan are, which is a weird thing. But yeah, so we'll see how that evolves over time. Now, you can also make this with scrambled eggs. I know somebody like my mom does not like runny eggs. I do it with a fried egg, with a runny yolk, because that's what I like, but you certainly don't have to do that. Also, between the pesto and the tomato, if I can keep this white shirt white, it's gonna be a friggin' miracle. Also, one of the secrets to getting really good runny fried eggs, without like overcooking the yolk, is to get your pan really hot. So you get your pan really hot, it sears off the bottom of the egg really well, and then once the top of the white isn't as runny and it's not gonna like move when you flip it, like I'll kind of get under the egg and see if the white on the top is gonna like spill over. Once that kind of gets a little more solidified, I flip it, I turn off my pan, and I let the residual heat of the pan cook the other side so that my yolk is still runny. Okay, y'all, so breakfast, big breakfast. This is one of my favorite breakfasts. It's just the best. It's so good. It's nice and flavorful, and also making breakfast is kind of part of my morning routine. And, well, sometimes if I'm busy, my boyfriend makes me breakfast, and we stan him. Okay, y'all, I'm gonna finish this. I gotta get to working, and we'll see you at lunch.
So I have been trying to finish filming this what I eat in a day for like 2 weeks. So the only thing left to film is lunch, which lunch is by far our worst meal because we both work in corporate America. Hi, it's me. And lunch is usually happening between meetings. It's being eaten at our desk. Yes, I know that's not the healthiest thing to do in the world. I'm aware, but that's just who we are. So funny enough, we usually end up having like a bagged salad kit, something that's just like stupid easy to put together. And I thought I'd show you guys what we're doing for lunch this week, because if this doesn't say corporate America, if this doesn't scream corporate America, I don't know what does. So, my partner had a like luncheon or something at his office, and there was so much extra food that he just went ahead and brought it home. But this is somewhat similar to something that we eat fairly regularly for lunch, so I thought I would just go ahead and film it anyway. This is from a place called the Kebab Shop, and it is like shaved chicken, saffron rice, and just Greek salad. So typically for lunches we'll do like a starch, a protein, and then a vegetable. We try and keep that pretty balanced, just to make sure we're, you know, staying awake for the afternoon. So yeah, you know what? It's not some pretty perfect lunch out of the garden, but it is our reality, and I've always promised to be honest to you about that. So I'm headed to my office today, so we're gonna put together a quick lunch rice bowl, and I think there's some like dill yogurt or like a tzatziki. Oh yeah, and we have to get extra feta. So this is perfect. I can kind of dress up what we got. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you a dinner I made a couple of weeks ago. It's one of my favorite comfort food meals for the summer garden, and it features peppers. So let's go see that.